In this video, we're going to learn how to use Excel to generate descriptive statistics for group data. Here's an example of a group data frequency where the income is categorized such as less than £2,600, 2,600 to less than 5,200, etc., all the way to 36,400 or more. We've got the frequencies here for a survey that included a sample of 112 people. Before we do any calculations, we need to generate the minimum and the maximum values for each category. So the first category, which is less than 2,600, the minimum is supposed to be 0 for those people who do not earn at all, and the maximum will be 2,599, £1 less than the stated 2,600 because the category is less than 2,600. The next category will be from 2,600 to 5,200, so the minimum is 2,600, the maximum will be 5,199, £1 less than 5,200 pound, etc. The last category, which is an open-ended category, 36,400 or more, obviously the minimum value would be 36,400. The maximum value will be a value so that the width of the category will be the same as the width of the category before it, i.e. 28,600 to less than 36,400. So we calculate, for example, the width for this category here, the first one, which is the maximum minus the minimum, and we find 7,799. So you can say that we're going to find the maximum by adding the width to the minimum. So if we do equal 36,400 plus the width, we'll find the maximum, and that is how we've found the maximum, 44,199. Well, next thing we need to do is to calculate the midpoint. The midpoint is calculating by entering the formula equal, open the bracket, that will be the minimum plus the maximum for each category, and then we divide the sum by 2. So that will give us a midpoint of 1,299.5. If we can repeat, so copy and paste, we'll find the following midpoint. Okay, so this is how we set up the table. If we want to calculate the midpoint, then we need to calculate a new column called f times x. I'm going to center it and border it and so on. So the f times x will be, f is the frequency, so it will be 13 for the first category, multiplied by x. The x in this case is the midpoint. So I click on the midpoint here. So it's going to be, f times the midpoint. So 13 times 1,299.5, and that will give me the f times x. And I need to repeat these calculations all the way to the last category. We know from previous lessons on group data that the mean is equal to the sum of the fx, the sum of the f times x divided by the sum of the f, which is the frequencies. So we need to calculate the sum of the f times x. If I highlight it, and I highlight also the cell where we want the sum to be, and I click on auto sum, that will give me the sum. The mean will be the sum of the f times x, which is in f10, divided by the sum of the f, which is the sum of the frequencies, 112, which is in b10. If I press enter, I've got the mean income for this group of 112 people. The variance is calculated by calculating the f times x squared, which is f multiplied by the midpoint to the power 2. and I need to copy and paste that all the way to the rest of the categories, and that would be the f times x squared, and I need to calculate the sum of them. That will be, now we don't need to read it, all we need to do is to use it. So it's going to be, open the bracket for the variance, the f times x squared divided by the sum of the f minus the mean, which is calculated here, squared. The variance is the sum of the fx squared divided by the sum of the f minus the square of the mean. So that will be 91,529,451.53, and if I want to calculate the standard deviation, that would be the square root, so SQRT, the square root of the variance, B14. And that will give me the standard deviation, which is formatted to be the currency that we're dealing with, which is in pound. So that will end our video on how to estimate the mean, the variance, and the standard deviation for grouped data.